The news hour coming to the news hour. The news hour coming to you live from the studios of HitzAfrik Radio and TV. Stay tuned. Download the tuning app onto your mobile phone today and catch up on all the latest news from HitzAfrik Radio, broadcasting live on modern Ghana and our website www.hitzafrikradio.org. HitzAfrik Radio News Hour live.
Good morning. It's exactly 7 o'clock GMT right here in the studios of HitzAfrik Radio. Yeah, log on to www.modernghana.com. You can download the tuning app and log on to HitzAfrik Radio. I'm your anchor this morning, and let's move on to the headlines for today's stories. Newly proposed taxes a huge hindrance. Staff working on Tamale interchange calls off strike. Government can't blame COVID-19 for woes. Paris lockdown as fears. These and many other stories we bring your way this morning. Stay tuned and enjoy the news in details. Newly proposed taxes a huge hindrance to businesses' recovery from COVID-19 impact. The Association of Ghana Industries, AGI, is alarmed at the government's new proposed taxes as outlined in the 2021 budget statement and economic policy. It fears these taxes introduced will have a toll on the business community, particularly at a time when players are reeling from the devastating effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Speaking to CCTV or ABSA's post-budget analysis program at the University of Professional Studies Accra UPSA held on Thursday, the AGI representative on the panel, Adobia Isiama Abuaje, said it will be prudent if government reconsiders the imposition of the taxes to help in the sustainability of business operations. Around this time, businesses need to be cushioned to revamp and recover from the pandemic. The banking sector levy of 5% on pre-tax on profit, we don't expect the banks to absorb this. The likelihood of it being transferred to industries, businesses, and individuals is very much on the high side. So, we think that should be looked at again, she said. The government, through the caretaker Minister for Finance, Osei Mensah-Bonsu, in delivering the 2021 budget last week, announced the government's proposal of introducing 6 new taxes. These taxes include a COVID-19 health levy, 1% increase in national health insurance levy, and 1% increase in flat VAT rate, as well as a 30% increase in fuel prices to take care of excess power capacity charges, 20 pesos, and sanitation and pollution levy of 10%. But Madam Isiama Abuaje was of the view that existing economic conditions amidst the taxes will only aggravate the difficulties on the production and manufacturing value, chains businesses, and to a larger extent, even livelihoods. She strongly pointed out that the taxes, if not reviewed, will even make businesses unable to take advantage of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, AFCFTA. Aside that, as businesses, when it comes to the VAT and NHIL, there is a big problem. If you look at this, increasingly, these two levies is significant for businesses. If we are having taxes coming up in this format, then how are we positioning ourselves to take advantage of the AFCFTA? These are some of the challenges because of it comes to manufacturing. The cascading effect of taxes in the distribution chains is a major problem. In other stories, staff working on Tamale interchange call off strike. Some workers of the Sino Hydro Company Limited working on the Tamale interchange who embarked on strike over service conditions have called off the industrial action. The aggrieved workers, numbering over 50, raised concerns about the non-payment of the annual leave benefits, which have allegedly been in arrears for over 3 months. Rates and height allowances, among others. In an earlier statement issued by the workers, they accused management of failing to address their concerns after several engagements. But after meeting with management and union executives Thursday, the staff to have decided to resume operations. A City News visit to the construction site was some workers busily working. In contrast, the union executives for the workers have denied knowledge of such statements, saying not all workers joined the strike, but only some 65 workers whose annual leave benefits have been in arrears. In an interview with City News, chairman of the union, Al-Hassan Al-Lobo, noted that even though they did not issue the statement, they are aware of the concerns raised by the workers. He said they have been in discussion with management to ensure leave requests for qualified workers are approved with benefits and other allowances due them pay. We do not want any form of confusion at the worksite. When they are going on strike against the company, they should have sat with their leaders. The union is unaware of the strike they embarked on. The foreman is not even aware. Only the workers decided to lay down their tools, although we were preparing for the increment payment. So we are waiting for the union to come so we sit down and address the issues. Explaining to City News why payment of the workers' allowances have delayed, the Human Resource Manager for the Sinai Hydro project, Idrisu Awudu, said the officer in charge of the payment has been away and is expected to return this month. The reason why the money is not being paid early is that the person in charge is not around. It is not as if the company is refusing to pay them. We explained this to them. But the workers said they will not understand because we are giving them false information. In other stories, government can't blame COVID-19 for woes of economic. Government can't blame COVID-19 for woes of economy. A former finance minister said Tepa says the current woes of Ghana's economy cannot entirely be attributed to COVID-19 because the economy started seeing challenges before the outbreak of the pandemic. Mr. Tete suggested that the government continues to give false assumptions that the current problem facing the country's economy is due to the pandemic. There appears to be an effort by the government to blame everything on COVID-19. But there were problems before COVID-19, he said. Many government officials on various platforms have indicated that, like other countries across the world, Ghana's economy has been devastated by the COVID-19 pandemic, which saw the country losing huge amounts of revenue, yet borrowing more to fight the pandemic. The caretaker Minister for Finance, Oseiche Mensah Bonsu, during the 2021 budget presentation last week pegged the fiscal impact of COVID-19 at 19.7 billion Ghana cedis. The Minister for Information, Kojo Upon Nkrumah, told the media earlier this month that the shocks caused by the COVID-19 pandemic on the economy has been so severe that there was the need for critical attention to be paid to its quick recovery. He said before the COVID-19 pandemic, the country was on a smooth rise from 2017 to 2020, improving in various areas such as gross domestic product, GDP growth, macroeconomic stability, and specific development programs. The effects of the pandemic, among other things, have been a sharp reversal in the macroeconomic and fiscal gains that we were making up until the pandemic. This week, the government has two major events, the sonar and the budget, that are expected to kick off the 2021 program, he said at a press conference. In other stories, VIP to announce 2021 pollution and housing census night on Friday. President Mahamudu Bawumia will announce the 2021 Housing and Population Census PHC night today, Friday, March 19, when he launches the 100-day count to the census. The census night is the reference date for census enumeration and all questions asked during the enumeration would relate to that night. It also determines the actual date for the conduct of the 2021 census. The Ghana Statistical Service is the lead agency to conduct the census, as stipulated in Clause 3 of the Statistical Services Act 2019 Act 1003. The census will provide comprehensive, reliable, quality, relevant, accurate, and timely statistical information to guide national development. The 2021 census was initially scheduled to be conducted in 2020, but had to be postponed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Despite the challenges posed by the pandemic, the service is on course to begin the collection of data in the second quarter of 2021. An official statement copied to the Ghana News Agency said in Accra. The preparations for the census has reached an advanced stage with many key activities like the delineation of the entire country into about 52,000 enumeration areas, finalization of enumeration instruments, and quality assurance procedures concluded, the service said. In addition, 3 trial censuses, 2 trial post-enumeration surveys, and procurement of the logistics has been completed, while the recruitment and training of about 75,000 census officials to be deployed for the exercise are ongoing. The 100-day countdown will bring together a diverse group of policymakers and stakeholders who will be strategic partners in the implementation of the census. Moving on to other African countries. AstraZeneca coronavirus vaccine rollout should continue, says African Union. A man receives a dose of the Oxford AstraZeneca COVID-19. The African Union said that African countries should continue to use the Oxford AstraZeneca coronavirus vaccine, as several nations in Europe and the Democratic Republic of Congo have suspended its use due to the concerns of blood clots. Many countries in Africa are relying on the AstraZeneca vaccine as it is cheaper and easier to store. Under the COVAX initiative, around 145 million doses have been delivered to African countries. John Nkesagong, the director of the African Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, told a news conference the benefits still outweigh the risks. The end countries should move forward. The WHO's African Director, Mochidiso Moiti, told a media briefing on Thursday that he encouraged countries to continue with their vaccination campaigns and to pause as we are in a race against time. The more people are protected, the less likelihood of mutation producing more dangerous variation of the virus, he said. Meanwhile, the European Medicine Agency said the AstraZeneca vaccine is safe and effective, and its benefits outweigh the risks. The EU medicine regulator conducted a review after 13 European countries suspended the vaccine. It said the vaccine was not associated with a higher risk of clots. The Anglo-Swedish pharmaceutical giant AstraZeneca insists the jab is safe and that no evidence exists of a higher risk of blood clots. In other stories, Senegal opposition leader Sonko's rape accuser demands justice. The woman who filed a rape charge against Senegal's opposition leader repeated her accusation and said her case must proceed, following deadly clashes over his arrest. In an interview broadcast Wednesday, Adji said opposition leader Ousmane Sonko had forced her to sleep with him on several occasions and had threatened peripherals if she refused. If Ousmane Sonko has never slept with me, let him swear on the Quran, said the young woman in the interview carried by several private television channels in the West African state. Sarah also said that she had fallen pregnant by Sonko. Usually seen as a haven of stability of a volatile religion, Senegal was reckoned by the worst unrest it has seen in the years after Sonko was arrested on the 3rd of March. Police detained the opposition leader, a devout Muslim popular with Senegalese youth, on charges of public disorder after scuffles with his supporters broke out as he traveled to court. He had been due to appear before a judge in relation to Sar's separate rape charge, which he had filed in February. At least 5 people died in the clashes between opposition supporters and security forces that followed Sonko's arrest. The unrest died down only after a judge freed the 46-year-old from detention on March 8th. But a judge also formally charged him with rape, paving the way for an investigation. Too many opposition supporters, Sonko's legal troubles fit a perceived pattern of politically motivated court cases against rivals of President Macky Sall. Sonko, considered a strong contender against Sall in 2024, denies the charges and has accused the president of engineering the rape in charge in order to sideline him from the politics, which Sall refuses. Sall said Wednesday that she had never met the president. Let the Senegalese know that there is no conspiracy and that President Macky Sall is not involved in this case, Sall said. While she was surprised at the scale of the reaction to the affair, she said she was keen for the legal case to proceed. The judiciary needs to do its work, she said. I am in a hurry for it to do so because I am not free. In other stories, young people of the Congo speak on longtime President Nguesso. Young people in Congo Brazzaville comment on 77-year-old President Denis Sassou Nguesso, who has governed the country for 36 years and is running for another term in Sunday's election. Youth under 25, the majority of the country's 5 million inhabitants, have only known the old president in power, like their parents since 1979, aside a break between 1992 and 1997. My advice would be that all young people to vote for Denis Sassou Nguesso for president, said Christopher Effortbola. Sassou means peace, since he has maintained peace in the country. Even if there isn't any work we get by, said Mariela Mwanda, a resident. Whoever is elected, let him come with a job. I work. I need to do something to feed my children. Let him fix this country. Opain Chadro Zigula, a street vendor. If every other youth is vouching for Sassou Nguesso, Frank, who lives in Brazzaville, is, however, of not the same opinion. He says his strategy is rather unhealthy. How do you solve the problems of the youth when you are unable to give them work, when you are not able to give them bread? This is a real problem. I think that the president, Sassou Nguesso, is suffering on a trend that is not, for me, rather unhealthy to go through the youth to get numbers of the election. In 2015, the country staged a referendum on removing a 70-year age limit and a ban on presidents serving more than 2 terms. The move paved the way for Sassou Nguesso to secure a 3rd term in elections in March 2016 that were marred by bloodshed. In Rwanda, a devastating new book will accuse Rwanda's President Paul Kagame. Long featured by his prominent international supporters as the model of visionary new African leadership, of being a serial human rights abuser, including for his role in a sustained campaign of assassinating his rival in exile. The author, who covered the Rwanda genocide in 1994, when more than 800,000 people, largely ethnic Tutsis, as well as moderate Hutus, were killed by the Hutu militias over 100 days, Do Not Disturb represent one of the most far-reaching historical revisions of Kagame and his regime. Meticulously researched with substantial new materials and interviews, Rung is careful to set competing claims next to each other where there are unresolved questions, including the suspicions that, for uncorroborated, of Rwanda involvement in the 2001 assassination of Congolese President Laurent Kabila. Paul Kagame has come under increasing scrutiny in recent years, not least after the high-profile murder of his former intelligence chief Patrick Kabigega in South Africa in 2014 by Rwanda agents. Do Not Disturb alleges Kagame's involvement in multiple rights abuses, from his earliest day in the Rwanda Patriotic Front (RPF). Beginning with his role as a dual intelligence officer for the rebel RFP behind his grisly executions of suspected infiltrators, Do Not Disturb chronicles Kagame's rise as well as his part in the overthrow of two Congolese presidents and the looting of that country's mineral resources, relying on numerous interviews with former members of his inner circle. With Rwanda heavily reliant on international aid for almost two-thirds of its budget, wrong examination of Kagame and Rwanda's role in destabilizing its neighbors in the Great Lakes raises embarrassing questions for these prominent supporters, who have included Bill Clinton, Tony Blair, Bill Gates, and Claire Short. And for international aid donors, including the UK, accused of long turning a blind eye. The book is being published just 2 months before the Commonwealth held of the government meeting it's due to be held in the Rwanda capital, Kigali, this summer, an event that will once again put Kagame on the center of the international stage. Far from the charismatic, driven to progressive leader is perceived as by his international supporters, Kagame emerges from wrong accounts as a murderously authoritarian figure, a cold, petty and vindictive individual. She compares him to Stalin's notorious secret police chief, Lavrenti Beria, also able to find a crime to fit the man. I was completely won over by them and completely willing to accept that their takeover was a very good thing. In an interview with The Guardian, Rang described how her view of Kagame had changed radically over the years since she encountered the RPF forces as a young reporter covering the genocide, when, like many others, she embraced the RFP's narrative. Rang has already been accused on social media of becoming the genocide denier, the standard accusation leveled at critics of Kagame. She has no doubt that genocide occurred, only that it had a far complex picture, including the subsequent murders of Hutus Batutsi forces after the RPF took power. Going from village to village with the French troops, you were confronted by mass graves where people had been hurriedly buried, seeing women scrubbing the floors of the church naves trying to get the bloodstains out. Here lies the end of the local story. Stay tuned as I bring you the following stories.
The News Hour, coming to you live from the studios of HitzAfrik Radio and TV. Stay tuned. Download the TuneIn app onto your mobile phone today and catch up on all the latest news from HitzAfrik Radio. Broadcasting live on modern Ghana and our website www.hitzafrikradio.org. HitzAfrik Radio News Hour live.
You are still logged on to www.modernghana.com right here in the studios of HitzAfrik Radio. We are streaming live on YouTube and on Facebook at HitzAfrik Radio. Now let's do some foreign stories. US and China trade angry barbs at high level. US and Chinese officials have exchanged sharp rebukes in the first high-level talks between the Biden administration and China taking place in Alaska. Chinese officials accused the US of inciting countries to attack China, while the US said China has arrived intent on grandstanding. Relations between the two superpowers are at their most strained for years. The US has pledged to raise contentious issues such as Beijing's treatment of Uyghur Muslims in Xinjiang. The ill-tempered talks of the Anchorage involved Secretary of State Antony Blinken and National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan on the US side, facing off with China's most senior foreign policy official, Yang Jiechi, the foreign minister of Wang Yi. In a blunt opening statement, Mr. Blinken said the US will discuss our deep concerns with actions by China, including the Xinjiang, Hong Kong, Taiwan, cyber attacks on the United States economic coalition of our allies. Each of these actions threaten the rules based on other and that maintains global stability, he said. In response, Mr. Yang accused Washington of using its military might and financial supremacy to suppress other countries. It abuses so-called notions of national security to abstract normal trade exchanges and incites some countries to attack China, he added. Jake Sullivan speaks as Secretary of State Antony Blinken looks on the Alaska assault. Mr. Yang said human rights in the U.S. were at a low point, with black Americans being slaughtered. Mr. Sullivan hit back saying Washington did not seek a conflict with China, but added, "We will always stand up for our principles, for our people, and for our friends." The exchange, which took place in the front of the world's media, went on for more than an hour. Afterwards, the U.S. delegation accused China of violating the agreed protocol of 2 minutes of opening remarks by each side. The Chinese delegation seems to have arrived intent on grandstanding, focused on public theatrics and dramatics over substance. A senior administration official said the U.S. will continue with the talks as planned, adding that exaggerated diplomatic presentations often are aimed at a domestic audience. In later remarks via state media, Chinese officials said it had been the U.S., not China, that had violated protocol by exceeding the agreed time in opening remarks. They accused the U.S. of making a groundless attack on China's domestic and foreign policies. On a more positive note, it quoted Mr. Yang was saying that serious difficulties in China-U.S. relations in the past should not continue. The BBC's Barbara Plett-Usher says the talks are the first chance for the Biden administration to show how it intends to deal with what the Blinken has called the biggest geopolitical test of the 21st century. China is looking for a reset after relations hit rock bottom under the Trump administration. A correspondent adds, Mr. Wang has said the Beijing is ready to reopen constructive dialogue. In other stories, Paris locked down as France fears third wave. A woman wearing a surgical face mask walks near the Eiffel Tower, the French Paris to set to go into a month-long COVID lockdown as the country fears a third wave. Another 15 departments in the country will also be placed under the same measures from midnight on Friday. These measures will not be as strict as the previous lockdown, Prime Minister Jean Castex said. With people allowed to exercise outdoors, France has recorded more than 35,000 new infections within the past 24 hours. Mr. Castex said a third wave of the infections in the country was looking increasingly likely. The situation in Paris is particularly worrying, with 1,200 people in intensive care there, more than the peak of the second wave in November, Health Minister Olivier Véran said. Under the new measures, non-essential businesses will be forced to close, but schools will remain open. People will be allowed to exercise outdoors within 10 kilometers, 6 miles of their home, and are not allowed to travel to other parts of the country unless they have a valid reason. Those in the affected areas will have to fill out a form to explain why they have left their homes. France's nationwide curfew will remain in place, however, it will begin an hour later at 19 o'clock GMT, 18 o'clock GMT, taking into account the longer hours of daylight. Europe in vaccine race to save summer. EU agency says AstraZeneca is safe and effective. Fears of a third wave come as the French government faces criticisms for its slow vaccine rollout. From Friday, France will resume vaccinating using the AstraZeneca jab following the EMA's announcement that it was fit for use. Mr. Castex said he would be getting the vaccine straight away to prove that it was okay. France had suspended the jab after a number of cases in Europe of blood clots developing after the vaccine was administered. A survey conducted just as the suspension was announced found that only 20% of the French have confidence in AstraZeneca. Here is the end of the foreign story. Stay tuned as I bring you the entertainment news.
the news hour, coming to you live from the studios of HitzAfrik Radio and TV. Stay tuned. Download the tuning app onto your mobile phone today and catch up on all the latest news from HitzAfrik Radio. Broadcasting live on modern Ghana and our website www.hitzafrikradio.org. HitzAfrik Radio News Hour live.
You're still logged on to HitzAfrik Radio right here. We are streaming in Ghana. You're logged on to www.modernghana.com on the tuning app at HitzAfrik Radio. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media handles at HitzAfrik Radio. We are streaming live on Facebook and YouTube at HitzAfrik Radio. Now let's do some entertainment news. I had to rely on fertility treatment and other medical procedures to be able to give birth to my baby girl. Bubbly Ghanaian actress cum TV host Nana Ama Brown has disclosed in an interview with Na Ashoko on Asase Radio how she had to go through several fertility treatments in order to give birth to her baby girl. According to Nana Ama Brown, she's still surprised and can't believe God has blessed her with the fruit of the womb. Nana Ama revealed how societal pressure forced her to go through several procedures to have a child and how she was desperate to save her marriage. Nana Ama said that she did IVF, an in vitro fertilization, a process where an egg is removed from the woman's ovaries and fertilized with sperm in a laboratory. This procedure helped her become the mother she is now. I always thank God for giving me my baby girl, and I am usually stunned that she is my daughter anytime she sleeps in my arms. In other stories, I have not done fraud in my whole life, says Medical. Rapper Medical has denied ever indulging in internet fraud, popularly called Sakawa. He said he has never touched fraud money in all his life. Medical says the source of his wealth is music, and he has made millions of CDs since he started his career. Ghanaian rapper Medical has dispelled rumors that he indulges in internet fraud and makes money from scamming innocent people. Medical said he has never touched fraud money with his hand in his whole life. According to him, he feels real pain when people accuse him of being a fraudster, which is commonly known in our local parlance as Sakawa. Telling how he gets his money he spends so lavishly, Medical said the money comes from his music. According to him, he is rewarded big royalties from the likes of iTunes and others. Giovanni Collab shows calmness and maturity after Abena accused him of sleeping with her. He added that anyone who claims there is no money in music is not being truthful. He warned that he would walk out of any interview if any host asked him about the fraud issue again. In other stories, Stone Boy returns from America, shows maturity as he addresses Grammy Buhaha with Samini. Award-winning dancehall music star Stone Boy has returned to Ghana from his recent trip to America. Upon his arrival, Stone Boy was met with a welcome party at the Kotoka International Airport. Stone Boy shared his thoughts about the Grammy Award win for Nigerian artists Burna Boy and Wizkid at the welcome party. Burna Boy and Wizkid won awards at the 63rd Grammys, which came off last weekend. Stone Boy was one of the Ghanaian artists who took to social media to congratulate the Nigerian winners. Stone Boy's tweets did not go down well with Samini, who felt the former was being hypocritical, and he blasted him. Artists who spent 800 hours drawing Grammy winner Wizkid finally shared photos. Stone Boy refused to continue the banter, even though Samini threw more jabs on him after their initial tweet. Addressing the issue of the Grammys upon his arrival, Stone Boy also refused to mention Samini's name, but stated the recognition of the Nigerian music industry is not something new. According to him, the Nigerians have put in a lot of work and were reaping what they have sown. He was thus commending them in his tweet. A lot of people congratulated them, and I'm only one of those who congratulated them. They are doing so well. They are doing so many things that the regular people don't know about, but I am to some and things they do. Whatever they do or not, we can see the progress. So we all also wish to emulate them in that light and also make sure that glory for one African nation is the glory for all of us. Why insult those who entertain you daily? Prince David Oseja has respect for Ghanaians. But it is sweeter when you can say it's you. Here lies the end of the news. Stay tuned as I bring you a recap of the news headline.
The News Hour, coming to you live from the studios of HitzAfrik Radio and TV. Stay tuned. Download.
A recap of today's news headlines. Newly proposed taxes are huge hindrances. Stop working on Tamale interchange calls off strike. Government can't blame COVID-19 for woes. Paris lockdown as fears. These and many other stories I brought your way this morning. Stay tuned for more entertainment and music. My name is Abena Ahwinie. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media handles at HitzAfrik Radio. Have a good morning.
The News Hour, coming to you live from the